Now for Global Business Updates, Bosin Omofaye joins us. Good morning, Bosin.
Good morning, Doctor. Good morning to the rest of the team.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday.
Morning.
Yeah, great. Say hi to your neighbor.
That's a
Yeah.
good business.
Make it a profitable day.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's start with Asia, where Pacific markets slipped Tuesday, trailing a mixed session on Wall Street. Investors saw a light today in terms of economic data out of Asian countries. Meanwhile, Hyundai Motor India made its trading debut after a record IPO. In Japan, the benchmark Nikkei 225 was down 1.4%. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index was close to the flat line, while the mainland Chinese CSI 300 Index was up about 0.25%. South Korea's Kospi slipped 1.28%. Oil prices fell Tuesday, pairing the previous day's nearly 2% rise as the top U.S. diplomat renewed efforts to push for a ceasefire in the Middle East. And as low demand in China, the world's top oil importer, continued to weigh on the market. Brent crude was down 0.23% at $74.12 a barrel at 6:32 GMT. U.S. West Texas Intermediate was 0.3% lower at $70.35 a barrel. Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to meet with several world leaders in the upcoming days, including China's Xi Jinping, India's Narendra Modi, Turkey's Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and Iran's Masoud Pezeshkian. They will all gather in the Russian city of Kazan on Tuesday for a Brics summit, despite prior speculations that the Ukraine war and an international arrest warrant will isolate Putin. Brics, originally formed by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has expanded significantly this year. New members now include Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia. Now, the world's financial leaders are meeting in Washington this week for the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank Group annual meetings. Concerns over high levels of debt, economic impact of the wars in Gaza and Ukraine, and the impact of artificial intelligence on the world economy will be top on their agenda. So in a renewed bid to grow Nigeria's crude oil output significantly in the next 12 months, President Bola Tinubu yesterday launched the 1 million barrels per day initiative, meant to raise production by 1 million barrels per day by harvesting dormant oil assets and optimizing existing ones. At the event held in Abuja, which coincided with the third anniversary of the establishment of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, international oil companies, indigenous oil producers, banks, oil and gas service providers pledged to support the federal government in the new effort. Tinubu stressed that his policy interventions in the oil industry were beginning to bear fruit, expressing confidence in the long-term benefits of the industry's policy reforms for the good of the country's over 200 million people. Now to the team.
So they were talking about dormant oil assets.
Yes.
The NMPC has a lot of JVs with most of these oil companies, which some of them, they are backdated on their cash calls. They are not able to maximize those wells. Like Tilewa Adebaju did say a couple of weeks ago here, would the NNPC be ready to sell most of their assets? Because you see, if they sell most of their assets in all these JVs, then investors will be willing to come in. Because they are just holding most of these assets, they are not fulfilling their equivalence with the cash calls. Nieti was saying the other day, and they are not optimizing the wells. So are they ready to start? You see, that's why I say culture will eat challenge for breakfast. It's not by just coming to talk. 1 million barrels. The solution lies with these people. Are they ready to do that? When you ask them to do that now, at first to free up some capital for the country, then to be able to get optimized investment, when you ask them, they will tell you how much they cannot do it. The same NNPC that is talking spent 4 trillion on refineries that were not working in this country. See, today they've not told us what is happening with as regards to the Port Harcourt refinery. So you see, Yorubas have a saying, we know where the fart is smelling from.
All right. So
I spoke English. I didn't speak Yoruba.
yeah,
Okay. We know where the I'm on this hotel room.
Okay, don't go there.
Okay, so we talked about this earlier and also just looked at the Brics summit. It's interesting, I find, that Brics is happening at the same time as the World Bank.
Very interesting. South African president is already there. Indra Modi is already there. They're not going to Washington.
Yeah, they're not going to Washington. So that's a big statement, a very big statement, especially because key on the agenda at the Brics summit would be just economy and global dominance of the West, especially when it comes to global trade. And that's also part of what's going to be on the agenda at the World Bank Summit. Don't forget, BRICS also has its own, shall I say, equivalent to the IMF and to the World Bank, which is the New Development Bank, which was formerly called BRICS Bank. And one of the conversations, and I talked about this earlier, is this moving away from the US dollar as a settlement payment,
as a gateway for trade.
And how it has affected trade, especially for countries that are not in alliance with the US. For instance, the US has sanctioned Russia, and part of the big reasons why this has worked largely is because a lot of trade that Russia would have done is in US dollars. And so what they're going to be looking at the BRICS Summit is, okay, how can we find a way to circumvent this and perhaps even look for a new or push a new currency for global trade. And the IMF or the World Bank annual meeting will also be having conversations around debt relief, around how to strengthen their base. So it will be great to see what the two outcomes are, especially because on one side...
Because even the World Bank and the IMF, part of the agenda for this summit is to retool itself and what's called the evolution of the World Bank and the IMF. Remember, it's been 80 years since the first annual meetings was held in 1944. So it is time to rejig the old 80-year-old institutions order into a new one.
I do feel it's because they are feeling the heat from what could possibly or potentially come out of BRICS, especially with them saying that now 30 countries are looking to join BRICS as well. So it will be very interesting to see the outcomes from both meetings almost at the same time and to see who's going to dominate.
We're watching from here and reporting from here.
Okay, on BRICS, I've made a point that it's a victory for Putin, showing that it's not isolated. Emerging economies of the world, providing an alternative in terms of economic and political significance coming together. Even Lula da Silva of Brazil was scheduled to attend the meeting in Kazan, but he said he had a personal injury at home, so he stepped back. But you have Erdogan from Turkey attending. You have the Iranian president attending. Okay, let me not run through the details. To say specifically that there was a time in this country when we're talking about Nigeria as an emerging economy being a member of the BRICS. In fact, at that time, we were toying with the idea of Brics. But when they held the meeting in South Africa in 2023 and admitted other members, Nigeria was not there. So we seem to find a situation where Nigeria is missing during big moments. I think that's what we should worry about as we review Russia hosting, the major emerging economies in Kazan, southwest of Russia. The second point today is, we've been talking about corporate earnings. Netflix, announced its corporate earnings. They did very well, because of ad-supported campaigns and expansion in base. Who is not watching Netflix? Well, everybody is watching Netflix. So the new CEO seems to be doing well. Today is going to be the turn of General Motors, and we're expecting some 2.3% in shareholding of Google. Now, which stock again is doing well? Gold is doing very well as a result of the uncertainty in the Middle East, as a result of the presidential election that is coming, as a result of the expectation that there will be a reduction in interest rates. And as a result of that, you'll find gold trading beyond $2,700. Even the gold futures selling at over $2,700. The expectation is that it will be more than $3,000 in due course. So these are some of the major developments out there. As for Nigeria and oil prices will always go up and down. We know that.
But gold is still on his throne.
Huh?
Gold is still on his throne.
Oh, gold is doing
on his
very
throne.
Well. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much.